Everyone thinks the biggest question about the next Pirates of the Caribbean movie is simple.
Will Jack Sparrow return or not? But that question is actually too small.
Because the real problem facing Disney is far more dangerous. The franchise was never really about cursed treasure, sea monsters, or naval battles.
It was about one unpredictable character who could walk into any scene and immediately make the world feel chaotic, funny, and alive. And that character was always Jack Sparrow.
Remove him, and suddenly the entire structure of the franchise starts to look fragile. Because once you strip away the rum jokes, the compass, and the ridiculous escapes, something uncomfortable becomes obvious. The world of pirates was never designed to function without him.
And that is exactly why the next movie is trapped between several impossible choices. The first possibility is the one fans keep whispering about: a secret return. For years, the internet has been obsessed with whether Johnny Depp could appear again as Jack Sparrow, even if only briefly. Not as the main hero, not as the center of the story, but as a legend who steps out of the shadows for one final moment. From a storytelling perspective, it actually makes sense, because a cameo return would solve two problems at once.
It would calm the audience who refuses to imagine pirates without Jack, and at the same time, it would allow Disney to quietly move the franchise in a new direction. But here is where things start getting complicated, because bringing Jack back, even for 5 minutes, creates a dangerous expectation.
The moment he appears on screen, the audience will immediately start asking the same question again. Why isn't he the main character anymore?
Which means the cameo solution might not solve the problem at all. It might make it worse. And that leads directly to the second theory surrounding the future of the franchise. The idea that Pirates is about to change its main hero completely. For a while, Hollywood rumors were swirling around the possibility of a new storyline connected to Margot Robbie, a fresh character who would lead a different crew, in a different part of the pirate world.
From a studio perspective, this approach is logical.
New hero,
new tone, new audience. But there is one enormous risk hiding inside that plan, because Pirates of the Caribbean was never just a pirate adventure series. It was a very specific type of chaos driven by Jack Sparrow himself.
Replace that chaos with a more traditional hero,
and suddenly the franchise might start feeling like every other pirate movie that came and went over the last 20 years. There is also another factor that almost nobody at Disney likes to talk about publicly.
Because the future of Pirates of the Caribbean is tied to something far messier than scripts or casting choices. It is tied to one of the biggest Hollywood controversies of the last decade.
When the legal battle between Johnny Depp and Amber Heard exploded across the internet, the entire industry suddenly found itself forced to react.
Studios became cautious,
brands became nervous,
and Disney made the decision that shocked many fans. They distanced themselves from the actor who had defined the franchise for nearly 20 years.
From a corporate perspective, the move looked safe.
Avoid the controversy.
Protect the brand.
Move forward with new characters. But something unexpected happened next.
The public narrative changed.
Court documents surfaced. Opinions shifted. And millions of fans started asking the same question online.
Why was the most iconic pirate in modern cinema suddenly treated like a problem instead of the foundation of the franchise?
Petitions appeared. Hashtags spread. And the pressure slowly started building in a direction Disney probably never predicted. Because now the studio faces a different risk entirely. Not bringing Jack Sparrow back might actually damage the franchise more than bringing him back ever could, which puts Disney in an incredibly strange position. If they ignore the character, fans keep asking questions.
If they revive him, the franchise risks becoming dependent on him again.
And if they try to quietly move on, the shadow of Jack Sparrow still hangs over every new Pirates project, which raises an uncomfortable possibility.
What if Disney knows this?
What if the reason the next Pirates movie keeps drifting in development is not budget, not scheduling, but uncertainty? Because every path forward carries the same question lurking underneath it.
How do you continue a world that was built around a character who was never supposed to be replaceable in the first place?
And this is where one of the strangest fan theories begins to gain attention again. A theory connected to a character many people almost forgot about.
Angelica from Pirates of the Caribbean, on Stranger Tides.
In that film, she disappears with Jack's voodoo doll, and a quiet promise that their story might not actually be finished. For years that moment looked like a loose thread. Just another unresolved ending in a franchise full of them. But what if it was something else entirely? What if the next Pirates movie decides to continue Jack's legacy in the most unexpected way possible?
Not by bringing him back as the hero, but by introducing someone connected to him.
someone who carries his bloodline, his reputation, and possibly his enemies. The idea of a son of Jack Sparrow might sound like pure fan speculation, but narratively, it would solve a very specific problem. It would allow the franchise to keep Jack present without forcing him to dominate the entire story again. Imagine a new pirate entering the world, constantly compared to a father who became a myth across the seas.
Some sailors admire the name, others hate it, and somewhere in the shadows of the ocean there are enemies who remember exactly who Jack Sparrow was and what he stole from them.
Suddenly, the past becomes the driving force of the new story.
But even this idea carries a dangerous twist, because the moment a legacy character appears, the entire franchise becomes haunted by one question again. Where is Jack now? Is he dead?
Is he hiding? Or is he still out there somewhere, sailing through parts of the ocean no map has ever recorded?
And the truth is, Disney might actually prefer that uncertainty.
Because the moment they answer that question clearly, the mystery disappears.
And the franchise loses the most powerful tool it still has left.
The possibility that the most unpredictable pirate in the Caribbean might return when nobody expects it. Which means the future of pirates might depend on something much stranger than a simple reboot or sequel. It might depend on keeping Jack Sparrow both absent and present at the same time.
A legend everyone talks about, a shadow hanging over every new adventure, a ghost of chaos that the ocean refuses to forget. And if that really is the direction the next Pirates movie chooses, then the biggest question is no longer whether Jack Sparrow will return.
The real question becomes something far more unsettling. What kind of world does Pirates of the Caribbean become when its most famous pirate is no longer the captain of the story?
But the myth every new pirate has to live under. But there is another possibility that almost nobody talks about, and it might be the most dangerous direction the franchise could take.
Because the next Pirates of the Caribbean movie might not be trying to replace Jack Sparrow at all.
It might be trying to erase him slowly, not from history, not from the lore, but from the center of the story.
Think about what usually happens when a long-running franchise becomes too dependent on one character. Studios start expanding the world around them.
New captains appear.
New mythologies emerge.
Entire regions of the ocean suddenly become important, not because the story demands it, but because the franchise is trying to prove something to the audience, that the world is bigger than the character who made it famous. And if that is the strategy Disney is quietly exploring, then the next film might introduce something Pirates has barely touched before.
A completely new power struggle across the seas.
Not just pirates chasing treasure, but factions fighting for control of the oceans themselves. Merchant empires, naval forces,
pirate republics rising again in secret harbors. Suddenly, the story stops being about one eccentric captain surviving impossible situations, and starts becoming something larger, more dangerous, and far less predictable.
And inside that world, a new generation of pirates could emerge. Some inspired by the legend of Jack Sparrow, others determined to prove that the era of chaotic tricksters is over, that the new age of piracy belongs to colder, smarter, more ruthless captains. But here is the twist that makes this theory so unsettling. If the world of pirates expands in that direction, Jack Sparrow becomes something very different. Not the hero,
not the clownish survivor escaping every trap, but a ghost story sailors whisper about in dark taverns. The pirate who cheated death too many times.
The captain who stole from gods, navies, and the sea itself.
A man who might still be alive somewhere beyond the edge of the map, and that rumor alone could reshape the entire ocean. Because legends have power in pirate stories.
Sailors follow them,
fear them,
hunt them.
And if a new generation begins chasing the myth of Jack Sparrow, searching for the truth behind his disappearance,
the next Pirates film could turn into something the franchise has never really attempted before. A hunt, not for treasure, not for power,
but for the man who became the most unpredictable legend the Caribbean has ever produced. Imagine new pirates trying to find clues about where he went. Old enemies resurfacing because they believe Jack is finally vulnerable. Ancient curses awakening because the pirate who once disrupted them is no longer there to interfere. Suddenly, the absence of Jack Sparrow becomes the engine of the entire story. But there is one final detail that makes this theory even more intriguing.
The Pirates franchise has always treated the ocean as something alive, something mysterious.
Something that hides secrets even the bravest sailors never fully understand.
And if that tradition continues, the biggest twist of the next movie might not be about a new hero or a new villain at all.
It might be about the ocean itself remembering Jack Sparrow. Because legends in pirate stories never disappear cleanly. They echo, they distort, they grow stranger over time.
And sometimes those echoes start pulling new characters into places they were never supposed to go. Places where old maps stop making sense.
Places where the past refuses to stay buried.
Which means the future of Pirates of the Caribbean might not depend on bringing Jack Sparrow back to the screen immediately. It might depend on something far more unsettling. The slow realization that his story never actually ended.
That somewhere beyond the known seas, the most infamous pirate in the world might still be sailing.
Waiting, watching.
And if that rumor spreads far enough across the ocean,
there is only one question left every pirate will eventually start asking themselves. If Jack Sparrow really is still out there, who will be the first fool brave enough to go looking for him?